Hello, so this is video 1 for the issues and debates for the development section on the issue of morality. This first video is just going to look at Piaget's theory on this. So the first thing that we need to do is understand the keywords and obviously be able to differentiate between them. Now, the words that you see on the screen at the moment are kind of buzzwords, keywords that you should be included in your definitions of both what morals, morality and moral development are. Just to be clear here, morals are our standards of right or wrong. It refers to what we decide is right or wrong in terms of human behaviour. So something that's moral, we would say, is something that everybody's kind of agreed is the right, good behaviour and the way to behave. But don't forget that morals themselves can differ between cultures, because what people agree is good and right behaviour can be very different across different cultures. Morality itself refers to the behaviour. So the morality is the proper behaviour. So people should behave according to the principles of what is right or wrong, but that morality means separating good behaviour from bad behaviour. If you could just jot a definition of those two keywords down in your books now, just using the keywords that you see on the screen. So within the issues and debates of morality, I'm sure you've seen from your flip learning that there's obviously 3 different theorists that we need to learn about. So we need to know Piaget's theory of moral development, Kohlberg's theory of moral development, and Damon's theory of moral development as well. But within Piaget's, you need to understand the keywords, you need to understand what we're meaning when we're talking about pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional stages of morality. And you also need to be able to describe Piaget's theory of development. So just to be really clear, the difference between morals and morality. Morality itself is the behaviour. So morals is almost the agreement of what's right or wrong within human behaviour, and then the morality is the behaviour itself. Moral development is how children learn these morals. So it's the process that they go through in terms of understanding moral decisions, understanding what's right and wrong for us, for society, and then eventually for themselves. And it's important to focus on how their understanding changes over time. So again, think about Piaget's stages of development. It's similar here in terms of moral development, because you would expect a different level of moral understanding from a 5-year-old than you would a 15-year-old. So Piaget's theory of moral development is basically suggesting that moral development develops with cognitive development through stages, and he again links these stages to different behaviours. So what he says is from 5 to 10 years of age, a child believes that rules can't be changed, but the morality actually comes from their parents, so they don't question what their parents show them. So again, when you're saying to a child, no, you don't do that, they just accept that. They don't think further than that. They just take the you should and shouldn't do that as directed from their parents. And actually, they focus more here on the consequences. So they understand that something's bad because they're going to get punished for it. And they don't think any deeper than that. So, they know that they don't steal something from their parents because they know, possibly through previous behaviour, that is going to lead to a punishment. So they choose their behaviour based on what consequence they think is going to get from it. We call this behaviour at this stage heteronymous, and it means literally directed by others. From about 10 years old, so the next step there, the idea is that the child understands that the intentions of the action is what's important. So, for example, if you've done a bad thing but you did it for good reasons, or you had good intentions, you can say, it would almost be classed as a good action. Children also learn to understand that their behaviour can change to benefit others, and if everybody agrees. So think about being outside playing a game of football, and then a younger child comes and plays the game. A 10-year-old, for example, or a 12-year-old might understand that they need to change the rules of the game so that everybody can play, so that it's for that younger child, so that they can take part in the game. They also understand that idea of everybody agreeing and make something more moral again. So it's that idea that what is and isn't moral actually comes from group decisions. So it might be that older child says, the younger child can go closer to the goal to score than anybody else can. Does everybody agree? And if everybody agrees, then that makes it an okay standard for the child. Morals themselves are seen as agreed between people, and it's that level of understanding that comes from a child who's older than 10, that kind of defining what a moral is. And the child also understands that following rules is more about the consequences of not following them. This stage here is called autonomous because it's the individual decides, and hopefully here you've already appreciated the link here between social psychology and Milgram's agency theory, and that idea of autonomous is taking responsibility for your own behaviour. And again, autonomous is used here in terms of the individual decides, so that the key term is the same and the definition of the key term is the same, it's just being applied in a different way. So all you have to do for Piaget's theory of development, all you have to understand is those differentiations between ages. So the idea of 5 to 10, it's simply about rules that can't change, and they don't necessarily understand them, they just accept them from their parents and they avoid being punished. Whereas from 10 onwards, it's the idea of understanding an individual decides, understanding that what's moral, what's seen as right actually comes from group decisions, and understanding it's the intentions behind your behaviour that shape whether an action is good or bad. So again, I repeat, if you did a bad thing as a child but you did it for the right reasons or for good reasons, that child will see it as a good thing. Part of the activity I've asked you to do as well is a fill in the gaps. So if you could complete that using the key terms to make sure that you've got a summary of the phrases that make up Piaget's theory. And then the second thing that I've attached is different key terms, and I want you to use those key terms to make your own sentences that explain the theory. The last thing I want you to do for this lesson is I want you to have a go at the apply it, so the AO2 scenario question. It's actually saying describe the theory of moral development that explains the child's ideas, but I'm going to give you a clue. I've put it in Piaget's moral lesson, so I'm sure you can work out which theory I want you to refer to. It's 4 marks, so I want 4 points, but to be clear, all the points you use need to relate to the scenario. So you need to be talking about Suki, Andy and B as the 3 characters that have been mentioned in the scenario. It's okay, by the way, in these scenario questions to imagine situations as well. So it's okay if you needed to create a situation and explain how these 3 people would respond differently or possibly not differently in these situations. So please make sure that the whole answer here is AO2. As a lot of you got your feedback from the first questions that you gave me yesterday on Willingham's theory, I can't award an AO2 point at all if there's no link to the scenario. So please make sure in your answer that you're talking about the game. You might create a situation where the game is a football game, whatever it is, but be talking about how Stuki would respond, how Andy would respond, and how B would respond, and then how they would be different because of their ages, and link all of those to explanations with Piaget's theory. If you could write the answer to this, again, just a 4-mark question, and submit it to me through Google Classroom, I can mark your answers, give you a mark, and then send you some feedback through Google Classroom as well. So 3 tasks today for me for today's lesson, all to do with Piaget's moral development. Any issues, let me know via email as normal. Thank you.